out there, thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Coda Country Chats. Today we have Andrea Vasquez. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing so well. And I read, and this may have been in your bio on Instagram or may have been in like your one sheet or something, but one of your little slogans is that you're country with a little tahine. So I can't wait to hear more about the flavor that you bring to country music.
Thank
So
you.
thanks so much for coming on the show with me today.
Yeah, this is great. I'm excited.
So let's talk about one of the most awesome things that you have going on right now, which is your video for your single Moving Target is currently number 5 on CMT's Music 12-pack countdown. Tell me, what
Yes.
does that mean to you?
It's really weird because, I grew up in the generation where music videos were what you would watch on like Sunday mornings or
Yes.
after school. And it was just always obviously a dream to have a music video on CMT. And so it doesn't hit you till afterwards where I'm like, this just feels weird. This just feels like a, pinch me thing, but it's been awesome. It's been so exciting. And just to have CMT's support has, meant a lot.
Yeah. Tell me what it was like recording the music video and tell me about that process.
The truth, it was very brutal. We recorded that in midst of January's just freezing cold, frigid weather. And yeah, so I think that we actually laughed about it because we did a shoot the other day that was the polar opposite. It was actually maybe too disgustingly hot a couple weeks ago when we did that, but it was 17 degrees out when we did Moving Target's video. It was one of those days where the sun was just like not coming out all week, and then we're like, I think it's gonna have to be this day if we want sunlight. You just gotta do it. But that jacket was so warm. And it was just really, really cool. Jessica Emerson is a really great friend of mine. She's who directed and shot the video.
Awesome.
We've been working together for the last 7 years, and we always just wing it, and it's always something awesome to just kind of look at the finished product.
Yeah. And it's great to have those friends that just kind of have like an idea in mind. And then you guys by now with 7 years of a friendship have kind of become a little simpatico, and the fact that you can just be like, okay, let's do this. And then you were like, I was already thinking that. And then
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. How great is that you guys have that awesome relationship? Okay. So Moving Target, the single came out March 22nd. But I want to talk a little bit about your album that you had come out in September of 2023, Bed You Made. I'd really love to know more about some of the songs on that album. One that really sticks out to me is Overthink, and of course the title track too. Overthink, I'm going to go back and talk about how it was like it was a self-write. It was, all written by you. I'd love to know more about that song.
Yeah, so Overthink, which by the way, I can't believe that album almost came out a year ago. I mean, everything's just flying like crazy, but
yeah.
Overthink was great and a really cool process. I was home alone with a bottle of wine, and I just picked up the guitar and started piecing that together. And it was a song that I kept playing at writers' rounds. And then, I finally showed it to my producer, and we're like, we like this song. So I knew it had to make the album. And the process of making that video was also simple. And, well, I say simple, but taking old VHS videos, we didn't understand how we were going to get it on a computer. That was a whole nother process. But again, we are queens of winging it at this point.
I love to hear that, because I feel like there's a lot of beauty that comes from just flying on the spot, and sometimes you just can't recreate things that just happen in the moment. And so
Definitely.
that's pretty cool to hear that's kind of how that song came to be too. Just, something that you just wrote down as you were enjoying your alone time. How much of a blessing is alone time these days, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. In reading through your bio and your one sheet, you have so many things going on for you. You have such an amazing career that's lasted for several years now. Let's talk a little bit about how you first got started in music and what kind of drove you to become a country artist.
I grew up in a very musical family. We're originally from Los Angeles, and my cousins are very musical. My dad was musical growing up too, and I mean, we always were playing instruments, but not only that, it was watching my cousins go off and have a lighting and touring and production career and having
Cool.
an engineering career, and these people were in a band, and so it was never a secret that our parents weren't going to be supportive. I mean, our parents were so supportive of all of us, which is very, very, very awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I feel like I was just exposed to not only music at a young age, but people working in music professionally that I never gave it a second thought.
Yeah.
I spent some time in Virginia as a kid, and I think that's where the countryness came from. And you'd be surprised too at the country scene that is, especially back in like San Diego. I think it's because it has such a big military presence. But yeah, I mean, country was just always what I wanted to sing and write. And yeah, that's how I really got started. I got a degree in music business and vocal performance back in LA, and interned my butt off and moved to Nashville 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Wow. So, okay. And I've had a couple artists that I've asked this question to, just because LA is very different from Nashville, I would say, and growing up there, it's pretty great to know that you have a background of performers and a background of those who support the performing arts, because I know growing up, like, some people may not have that experience. They may not have parents or families or communities who understand that. So knowing about, you spending time in Virginia and your move to Nashville 7 years ago, tell me, what's it been like living in Nashville, knowing the things that you know about major productions, knowing the things you know about music on your own? How has living in Nashville kind of influenced the rest of your style?
So, doing music professionally in Los Angeles and Nashville couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
And it's the way I describe it when I go back home and tell friends and family. It's just Nashville has this great community, not to say that you can't find that in Hollywood or in Nashville. I mean, in Los Angeles, but Nashville just has this different community. It's all about the writers' rounds, and the songwriting is the biggest. It's the biggest thing here.
Yeah.
And, you really, really have to pay your dues by, just working your way up to more and networking so much here. And that's just the biggest thing about it. I'm 7 years in, and everyone around me in my circle, I'm starting to see everybody, I'm like, wow, 5 years ago, we were dreaming of things that are happening now, which is just so crazy. So it's just kind of teaches you patience. But Hollywood definitely teaches you some thick skin. So I think that for me, it's helped me so much, because I'm always, I don't want to say unfazed, but you always just kind of want to keep a level head and not get too negative or not get too excited sometimes. It just has taught me to just kind of brush a lot of things off.
Yeah. And in that same sense, you just talked about patience and thick skin. And I'm sure it's also kind of, I don't know if you've had this experience, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, but I'm sure there are other people in your community who have had other opportunities kind of happen for them. And then you're like, oh, when's it going to be my turn? And now it's like, this is your turn. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's ever felt like that for you.
But definitely, all the time. And, same with my friends. And it's like kind of advice we give to each other. And then we're like, see, I told you. So those moments are starting to happen, and it's cool.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, and I'm glad you told me a little bit about, moving from LA, living in Nashville, and just the difference, because I think, outsiders looking in don't understand how collaborative, I'll say, that the Nashville community is, where you might not experience that somewhere else.
Yes.
So, okay, and we talked about this a little bit whenever I was speaking to some of your songs on your album. If you were to give what's the word I'm looking for? So, okay, in any of the projects that you've worked on so far as songwriting collaboratively with different artists, or even just like a collaboration song that you've put out, is there a specific project or song that you really would highlight as like one of your most favorite collaborations that you've done so far?
That I have to say Moving Target. It was one of those that, I love every song on my album so much, and that process was great putting that together because the whole project told a story from start to finish.
Yeah.
But when I wrote Moving Target with Aton Snyder and Bailey Morgan, not only are they two of my very great friends, but I mean, we knew that we wrote something special that same day. And I mean, that was one of those times where I'm like, we're cutting this like today. Like we have to cut this immediately. And it's been really special. And I have 2 more songs that I'm cutting at least this year that I wrote with the both of them too. And every single song that we're putting out this year, you're like, that's really by the same 3 writers. That's crazy. So I'm really excited about it.
Oh man, now I'm very excited because I hear Moving Target and it's such a great song, and so I'm wondering how different and how it's gonna spin and be something just exciting to hear. How cool. So okay, so tell me what's, I know that we just kind of like spoiled a little bit and heard some of your new music sneak peeks, but what else is on your radar for 2024 as music releases go and other things like that?
The biggest spoiler I could give is that I'll be definitely releasing some country with a little tahine this summer.
Ooh,
so that's
yes.
really, really fun.
Yay! Oh my gosh. And that's like in the next few weeks. That's going to be so exciting. Yay. Okay. And then to kind of go off of that too, do you have any other performance dates or any tour dates or anything else that's coming up in the near future? I know that I saw that you're singing at Whiskey Cowgirl, I think that is, in Chattanooga on July 5th.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really fun show. It's just kind of the way that the July 4th weekend lined up. I was like, that's going to be a really rowdy crowd. I just have a feeling. So very excited about that. And aside from that, though, several shows here in Nashville. I'm really excited. I put together a Women of Country round at Onzy Blue in July that we're announcing really soon. And
cool.
It's just a lot of really, really great, powerful females, and putting together some stuff too for Latin Heritage Month here in town. So
I feel
like
that
fall will be here before I know it.
I know. to go back to the round at Onzy Blue. Okay, if I remember correctly, I try to follow along with some of the events there. That's like a woman-owned event space, right?
Venue.
Yeah, business.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
It used to actually be like a brunch and coffee shop,
Mm-hmm.
and they redid it a couple of years ago, and they made it a really cool event space venue, and it's awesome. And they're so great to work with too.
Yeah, I was going to say it must be awesome to have like a woman who understands all of the joys of running an event planning business in a venue like that. Because I don't know, I feel like it's just easier to talk to women sometimes, when you plan stuff like that. Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's so cool to know. I can't wait to promote that round for you and any other shows that you have coming up.
You're welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we hop off today, for the listeners out there, would you mind shouting out your social media handles or anything else that we can research and find you on?
Absolutely. So on social media, I'm probably the most active on Instagram. Yeah. From there, you could get to everything, but my handle is at Andrea Vasquez. Mm-hmm. And then Spotify, Apple, Amazon, however you stream music, it's Andrea Vasquez.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much for being such an awesome podcast guest today. I've
Thank
loved
you.
learning more about you. And I told you this before you hopped on the episode that like I just see your name and your face everywhere. And so it's
Thank
such
you.
a joy.
I'm
Yeah.
flattered.
It's such a joy to finally get to meet you and get to hear more from you. Is there anything else that you'd like to promote or any person that you'd like to give a shout out to before we hop off the episode today?
Honestly, just stay tuned for this summer because I'm really just excited about it, and I'm always constantly sharing, my collaborators. So go give them love on socials.
Yeah. We love the collaboration. How awesome. Well, Andrea, thank you so much for coming on the episode today. And you heard it here on Coda Country Chats. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.